I just want to start off this video saying that I am a former fighter and I'm a big fan. I believe Lomachenko would beat my ass, but based on what I've seen, this is what it takes to beat him. I've seen Lomachenko lose, and I've seen him lose repeatedly. He is not an invincible fighter. So here I'm going to try to break down a style or people that would give him problems and possibly beat him, because to me, he struggles with these type of fighters. Lomachenko is a small fighter. I believe he stands about 5'5", 5'6", max. He's a natural featherweight, not 135. Lomachenko is physically, he's not an intimidating fighter. He's not what you call a genetic freak. Lomachenko, however, probably has the best mindset in the game. He's a fighter that doesn't give up on himself, and he's very, very smart. I believe with his body, he's also a very strong fighter. He has some pop, and he's got a lot of speed. His weakness physically, obviously, is a lack of height and arm reach. That's about it. His feet are fast, hands are fast, he's quick, he's agile, everything else, and has great conditioning. His style is very unique. I believe he has the same thing that Mayweather has, where he kind of knows what the opponent's going to do before they even do it themselves. Just based on experience, they know what to do in every type of situation. Every look the opponent gives them, they know what to do. So Lomachenko just gets in front of fighters, makes them miss, and when he attacks with really high accuracy. He doesn't miss a combination, he doesn't miss a punch. He tears dudes down with the volume and the power punches, and the power punches are coming forward in a blitz where he's catching them in all their openings. It's very unique to watch, and he'll occasionally go switch an angle and continue his combinations. That quick switch tricks opponents where they're not expecting punches coming and they get hurt. I think that's where a lot of his power comes from. Lomachenko is just amazing. He really is in the Matrix. Now, based on what I've just said, Lomachenko has lost a couple fights. The first one was in 2014 against Orlando C.D. Salido, in a fight where Lomachenko supposedly was new to boxing, supposedly was new to professional boxing. It was his second professional fight. However, I beg to differ. You see, before this professional fight, Lomachenko also had 100 pro AM fights, which are basically professional fights. They just don't go as long and they don't get paid for it. But these guys are fighting without headgear and using really small gloves. So he had a lot of experience before he fought Salido. So I don't buy that excuse. Now, in the fight, Salido pressed forward and does what Salido does. You see, Salido fights kind of in a Joe Frazier type of style where he's always bending at the waist, and then he goes forward, throwing uppercuts to the body. It's a very unique style and a very awkward one. Obviously, it shows that he had no amateur experience, but in the professionals, it throws guys off because there's nothing you can time. You see, I have a theory when these guys are very experienced and they fight an awkward fighter like Salido, it's always going to be a rough fight because Lomachenko knows how to read everybody. But if it's an awkward guy like this, he just doesn't have it. So in the fight, Lomachenko literally, in my opinion, did nothing the first maybe 7 rounds. He landed a few punches here and there, but I believe Salido was the one pressing the action. Salido was a champ, by the way. He had a lot of experience with world-class fighters. That's what ultimately gave him the victory. Lomachenko did what he usually does in his losses. He started off late. He wasn't used to the pressure, and he had to wait a while to get going because he couldn't find any openings in Salido's guard. There's a lot of excuses that go with this fight. Like Salido did a lot of low blows. And he did. I'm not going to deny that fact. In my opinion, Salido did cheat just based on the fact that he didn't make weight for the fight, but he still gave Lomachenko that loss. I believe it was judged fairly, even though Lomachenko took over second half. Problem in that fight was Lomachenko wasn't used to fighting a guy that hit that hard, was that awkward, that strong, and that big. Just like Mayweather, he thinks safety defense first. When Lomachenko's being hit hard, he shuts down because he doesn't want to get hurt. He's too smart, and I think that's what ultimately does him in these type of fights. Against Teofimo Lopez, similar situation. Teofimo came out guns blazing, throwing power shots, pot shotting him. Anytime Lomachenko would get close, Teo would throw something hard, and they made Lomachenko back up and not throw anything for about 7 rounds. Again, like I said, he felt the power, and he didn't want any of it. A very smart fighter, but it also hurts you in the long run when you're doing this against these big punchers. Lomachenko let his hands go within 8 rounds. He took it to Teo, and it looked like he was going to win, maybe even stop Teo. However, he ran out of time, and they gave the fight to Teo, similar to the Salido. These are old fights. In recent fights against Masayoshi Nakitani and Richard Coleman, Lomachenko has looked spectacular. Fighting bigger, taller fighters, he's been able to get out of the way, use angles, and really punish these guys for every mistake that they have. I believe Lomachenko has gotten even better over time. However, if we look at his last two opponents, Nakitani and Komi, they're not guys that go forward. They're strong, powerful guys, but they're tall enough to blast from the outside. And I think Lomachenko does good against taller opponents, bigger opponents. It's where he fights guys his size that hit very hard where he has a hard time adjusting. Ultimately, I think the way to beat Lomachenko, based on all this I've given you, is with power. You don't have to knock him out. You're not going to knock out Lomachenko. Lomachenko's hard to hit. Only in exchanges has he been dropped. When you go pressure him going forward, you really can't hit him. But it's just his reaction to it. He's always thinking safety first because he's a very, very, very smart fighter, and that gets in the way of him winning. It's a pattern I even seen in his victories sometimes. He'll shut down when guys start throwing hard. Now, if you got a guy that can hit hard, keep that up for 12 rounds, and take a punch, and not get deterred when things aren't going his way, then we can see Lomachenko lose again. There's a few names that pop up right now at the 135 division that I know would beat Lomachenko. Gervonta Tank Davis. This is a fighter who arguably hits the hardest in the whole division. Tank Davis has shown that he can go 12 rounds. He's shown that he can box or he can go forward. I believe if he tried to box Lomachenko or go backwards, he'd lose. But if he goes forward like he did against Santa Cruz, hunting, I believe we can get an early lead against Loma and possibly outscore him. There is Isaac Pitbull Cruz, who showed us that he improved a lot in his last fight. I believe that's exactly the style that is needed to beat Lomachenko. And I believe those are the two fighters that could beat Lomachenko. As for George Kambosos Jr., David Haney, Ryan Garcia, I don't think those are the guys to do it. I think those are the guys that try to box, and Lomachenko seems to have so much success against boxers or guys that try to bang from the outside. Anyways, if you agree, disagree, please tell me in the comments. Let's talk this boxing shit, and that's the bottom line with me.